It was a brisk autumn day in the small, secluded town of Meadowville. Caitlin, a 17-year-old high school student, eagerly anticipated her 18th birthday. However, little did she know that this momentous occasion would be tainted by a terrifying and sinister event that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Caitlin's birthday started like any other. Her parents had planned a small gathering with some of her closest friends at their old, creaky Victorian house. As the sun set and darkness wrapped around the town, the celebration began. The atmosphere was jovial, with laughter and music filling the air. Caitlin's parents had decorated the living room with cheerful balloons and streamers, creating a festive ambience. Friends and family exchanged gifts, sharing stories and creating beautiful memories. As the night wore on, Caitlin began to notice something peculiar. A strange figure was lurking outside the house, peering through the shutters. The figure was tall and thin, with pale, gaunt features and eyes that burned with an unsettling intensity. It sent shivers down Caitlin's spine, but she dismissed it as a prank or a product of her imagination. The guests dispersed, leaving only Caitlin and her parents in the dimly lit house. The night grew quieter, and Caitlin felt a growing unease at the lingering presence outside. She mustered the courage to investigate, slowly stepping onto the front porch. The moon bathed the garden in an eerie glow, casting long shadows that seemed to dance in the wind. Her eyes darted around, trying to locate the figure she had seen earlier. Suddenly, she heard a soft rustling behind her. She turned around to find the figure standing a few feet away, staring right at her with an unnerving smile etched on its lips. Panic gripped her as she realized that it was now inside the house, having bypassed her without her even noticing. Caitlin mustered all her strength and rushed back inside, slamming the door shut behind her. She turned to her parents, only to find them frozen in fear. The figure had managed to enter undetected, its presence sending chills down their spines. The figure slowly approached them, moving with an inexplicable grace. It whispered in a terrifyingly melodic voice, promising Caitlin the most unforgettable birthday surprise. Paralyzed with fear, Caitlin pleaded for her parents to do something, but their bodies remained motionless, trapped in the grip of an unknown force. The figure produced a small, ornately decorated box from its cloak. It handed it to Caitlin, its face contorted with a sinister grin. Trembling, she cautiously opened the box. Inside was a beautifully intricate necklace that glimmered in the dim light of the room. Caitlin felt a strange allure emanating from the necklace, but her instinct screamed at her to resist. With a twisted joy, the figure informed Caitlin that the necklace held a dark secret. It was cursed, and whoever wore it would be haunted by malevolent spirits for eternity. Caitlin refused to believe the figure's words, thinking it was just part of a deranged game, but something about its tone pierced her with an unexplainable dread. Lured by a morbid curiosity, Caitlin decided to wear the cursed necklace. She wrapped it around her neck, feeling it clasp shut like a vice, sealing her fate. Instantly, a chilling wind swept through the room, and the atmosphere became oppressively suffocating. The figure disappeared, leaving Caitlin and her parents consumed by a sinister darkness. Whispers echoed from the walls, their voices laden with the pain and suffering of forgotten souls. Shadows enveloped the house, manifesting into spectral forms that materialized before them. Caitlin's parents' faces contorted with anguish as they were tormented by the spirits. The walls pulsated with an otherworldly energy, and blood-curdling cries filled the air. Caitlin, paralyzed with fear, watched helplessly as her parents were dragged into the depths of an ethereal abyss. With every passing moment, Caitlin's sanity was eroded by the incessant torment of the spirits. Desperate to escape, she ran towards the front door, but it refused to open. Trapped in a horrifying nightmare, she screamed for help, praying for salvation from the malevolent forces that sought to claim her soul. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Caitlin's tortured screams reverberated through the hallways, her pleas unheard by the outside world. The house became a cursed tomb, an eternal prison for Caitlin's tortured spirit. To this day, the house in Meadowville remains vacant, a constant reminder of the sinister birthday surprise that consumed Caitlin's life. The spirits still whisper their lamentations through the broken windows, their anguished cries echoing into the night, warning anyone who dares approach the house of its dark and disturbing history. The wind howled through the trees, sending shivers down my spine as I walked through the darkened streets of California. A light drizzle coated the pavement, adding an eerie ambience to the otherwise normal suburban neighborhood. Tonight was my birthday, but instead of celebrating with friends and family, I found myself alone and on edge. As I approached my house, a sense of dread washed over me. The lights were off, and there was no sign of life inside. I tried to reason with myself, convincing my anxious mind that maybe everyone was waiting inside, ready to surprise me. Pushing open the creaky front door, I slowly stepped inside. The empty silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the distant sound of rain against the windows. A quick scan of the living room revealed no sign of a celebration. Confused and slightly unnerved, I made my way to the kitchen. Maybe there were clues hidden in the darkness. Turning on the lights, I was greeted by a cake sitting on the counter. Relief washed over me as I realized that someone had indeed remembered my birthday. However, as I approached the cake, I noticed something unsettling. Someone had spelled my name wrong, in garish red frosting. The letters were twisted and distorted, giving off an unsettling vibe, shaking off my unease. I focused on blowing out the candles, trying to make the best of the situation. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed through the hallway, causing my heart to skip a beat. I turned towards the noise, expecting to see a loved one walking in, but no one appeared. The house was silent once again. The combination of the misspelled cake and the unexplained footsteps sent an uneasy chill down my spine. Unable to shake the feeling of being watched, I decided to check the basement. As I descended the stairs, an overwhelming stench assaulted my nostrils, making it difficult to breathe. Turning on the lights, I was met with a horrifying sight. In the center of the room lay a disheveled figure, partially decomposed, staring lifelessly at me with empty eyes. Fear paralyzed me as I realized it was the neighbor, Charlie, who had gone missing a few weeks ago. His body was tangled in rope, his limbs contorted in unnatural positions. Panic welled up within me, and I stumbled backward, rushing up the stairs. I needed to get out of there. I needed to find help. As I reached the top of the stairs, a harsh whisper reached my ears. "Happy birthday," it hissed, causing me to freeze. The voice was indistinct, but it echoed with a sinister tone that chilled me to the bone. Gathering every ounce of courage I had left, I sprinted towards the front door. As I fumbled with the lock, a cold breath sent shivers down my spine. Slowly, I turned around, coming face to face with an eerie figure that seemed to materialize out of thin air. It stood there with ghostly pale skin and empty eyes, wearing a twisted smile. It was Charlie. Before I could react, Charlie lunged towards me, his hands wrapped tightly around my throat. The room spun as I struggled for air, desperately clawing at his fingers. Darkness began to consume my vision, and as I felt my consciousness slip away, I could hear the sound of sinister laughter echoing in my ears. I awoke with a start, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding. It took me a moment to realize it had all been a nightmare. My heart was still racing as I glanced at the clock. It was almost midnight, and my birthday was officially over. Relieved that it was all just a figment of my imagination, I stepped out of bed to get a drink of water. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps invaded the silence of my room. My heart sank as I remembered the dream. Slowly, I turned towards the door, praying that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But what I saw froze me in terror. Standing in the doorway was a figure, eerily similar to the one from my nightmare, with pale skin and empty eyes. It smiled, revealing hideously twisted teeth. "Happy belated birthday," it whispered, in a voice that sent shivers down my spine. As it lunged towards me, the last thing I heard were the words, "Now the real terror begins." Darkness consumed me once again as the horrifying truth of my birthday, nightmare, came crashing down. My worst fears had become a reality. And so, in the darkened depths of that haunting California night, my twisted birthday nightmare continued, forever trapped in an endless cycle of horror. It was the eve of my 16th birthday, and excitement filled the air. The house was adorned with colorful balloons, and a table was set with a birthday cake adorned with flickering candles. Little did I know that this celebration would become a haunting nightmare, forever etched in my memory. As the night grew darker, my friends and I gathered in the living room, ready to indulge in a horror movie marathon. The eerie atmosphere added to the thrill we sought, unaware of the chilling events that were about to transpire. Flickering lights cast haunting shadows across the room, adding an uncanny ambience. As the final scene of the last movie played, a power outage engulfed the entire neighborhood. Panic set in momentarily, but my friends and I soon decided to embrace the darkness and create our own horror story. One of my friends, Sean, suggested playing a terrifying game called Seance, believing it would heighten the suspense. Guided by dim candlelight, we sat in a circle in the basement, our hands trembling with anticipation. Sean, self-appointed as the facilitator, called upon the spirits to make their presence known. At first, we chuckled nervously, believing it was all in good fun. Little did we know, we were about to open doors best left closed. As Sean commenced the seance, a cold gust of wind pierced the basement, sending shivers down our spines. In unison, we heard a faint whisper that seemed to echo from the deepest recesses of our subconscious. Fear began to grip us, but we remained fixated on the game, unable to resist its dark allure. Suddenly, the candles flickered violently, plunging us into an inky blackness. The air grew dense and suffocating, as if malevolence had taken physical form in the room. A scream escaped one of my friend's lips, jolting us all. Panic consumed us as we desperately struggled to find an exit, leading us back to the realm of safety. However, the door upstairs seemed to have vanished, leaving us trapped in the nightmarish abyss. Cries for help turned into desperate whimpers as we realized that something otherworldly was toying with our very souls. The temperature plummeted and shadows seemed to manifest into menacing figures, embracing us with unseen arms. Time blurred as fear stretched every second into an eternity. Through the darkness, I caught glimpses of my friends' faces contorted by terror, their eyes pleading for escape. But rescue seemed impossible. In this unholy place, there was no salvation. Finally, as if toying with our last shreds of hope, clusters of maggots began writhing along the walls. Their putrid stench filled the air, and a cacophony of agonized moans echoed from the corners of the basement. We huddled together, frozen in terror, waiting for the curtains to fall on our fleeting existence. Suddenly, the candles reignited, bathing the room in an eerie glow. The once malevolent energy dissipated, and all that remained was the hollow sound of our gasps for air. The basement door reappeared, promising an escape from the suffocating nightmare we had endured. Emerging into the morning light, we realized that what had transpired was not a mere game. No, it had been a confrontation with unspeakable darkness. The haunted whispers, chilling shadows, and unbearable fear were etched into our memories, forever a part of the horror that transpired on my fateful 16th birthday.